we're going to tie in personal development through the eyes of Tara's dog. So for you guys that know me just a little bit, you know what a big advocate I am of dogs, rescues, and really supporting the underdog. And obviously when we can tie in personal development, it doesn't get any better than that. So Tara, I want you to introduce yourself, and what we're going to do is we're going to take them behind that black curtain. We're going to share where you came from, where you're at today, where you see yourself going, and we're going to chunk that down and pull out those golden nuggets. You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so introduce yourself.
All right, my name is Tara Borghese, and I'm an author and speaker, and my newest book just came out. It's called Moments with Miley, Personal Development Through the Eyes of My Little 15-Pound Shih Tzu.
Love it.
And, dogs are our best teachers, so who would have known that, all the gurus that I followed, my little dog would have been my very best teacher.
I love that. I am so interested to learn more about this and break this down and really dive into it. But before we do that, the power of this show is really getting them to know who you are, where you came from, and how you got here and where you see yourself going. So let's chunk this down a little bit. Where were you born and raised?
I was raised in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Okay, all right. I'm from Jersey, we're East Coast. All right.
Yes. And then my dad got transferred up to Upper Michigan when I was in 4th grade.
Wow.
And at that time, in the 70s, it actually could have been that I moved to a whole new country.
Right. Because
I was this little girl with a southern accent, and I said everything different, and I got made fun of.
Right.
And so then I stayed there, ended up in Ohio for college, and then met my husband there. We lived there for 25 years, raised all of our children there, and then about 2 years ago we ended up in North Carolina.
Wow, so you did a little full circle. So yeah. How old were you when you moved to Michigan?
It was 4th grade, so I was about 9 years old.
About that. So really you grew up mainly in Michigan?
Yes.
Would that be pretty accurate?
Yeah.
So you had a short term with that nice warm weather, and all of a sudden you find yourself in this crazy part of the country that has these ridiculous long winters.
Yes. Snow. I'd never seen snow until I was 9.
Now,
it was a shocker.
Then you couldn't get away from the snow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So now I'm in California,
So let's go back a little bit. So growing up, did you enjoy school? Did you like school? Were you good in school?
I was good in school until we moved to Michigan.
Wow.
And I tried so hard to fit in. And so my school took a back seat. And then I hated school. Mm-hmm.
But it all manifested from that. You're trying to fit in. You're a little Southern girl that has that accent, right? Because when I came out here, obviously I was an adult, but I tell people I'm from Encinitas and they never believe me. I'm a kid from Jersey. So right. I get you. But at 9 years old, that's a difficult thing to work around because you're trying to figure out why you're not accepted. Right. Why you speak differently. It's hard. It's a hard thing. So that created a struggle in school?
Yes, it absolutely did. And now through personal development, this actually takes me back to that moment when I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And when you get made fun of for who you are, you are, our brain is survival and protection. So then you try to become somebody else. To fit in. And then when they don't like that person, you try somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I had basically got to a point where I didn't even know who I was. Yeah. And this really wasn't even that long ago. It was, about 45 years old when I realized, when someone said, well, what's your favorite color? I couldn't answer the question.
Wow.
What's your favorite food? I really couldn't answer the question.
Wow. And
that's when I realized, I need to start focusing and investing in myself and figuring out who I am. So it was a long cycle of trying to fit in, not being accepted, and then losing myself. Right,
and we're going to come back to this, but one of the things I want to point out too is most women, because your DNA is caregiver, right?
Yes.
And if you're a mom, it's maximized tenfold, right? Mm-hmm. So it's so hard. One of the biggest obstacles for women, especially moms, and wives to understand and really wrap their brain around, put the oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Because that I'm sure that was probably your biggest obstacle. And we're going to come back around to that because that's huge value because you are in the majority. And then we're going to talk about why you're in the minority and why you're here. So 9 years old, 10 years old, you're in grade school, coming into middle school. Did you like sports? Did you have any outlets? What were some of the things?
Yeah, softball. I liked softball.
Okay.
Got involved in that a little bit, and then I got involved in basketball,
All right.
7th grade.
Okay.
Kind of jumped around a little bit. We moved a lot, so it was hard to really get pulled down any roots. We moved to a bunch of different towns within Michigan, so then it was really hard to really get involved.
That's even harder. I mean, because you can't. Yeah.
Right.
So now you're a little girl that doesn't fit in. Right? Or believes she doesn't fit in.
Right.
And now you're just trying to create some roots and all of a sudden you're uprooted, right?
Yes.
And you're moved now to somewhere else up in that area. Man, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
So you made it through high school.
Yeah,
right?
Barely. They gave me my diploma,
Right.
and I had to take summer school to get that diploma.
That's all right.
So.
They didn't even give me my diploma. They just said, get out. So listen.
Yeah, they were so desperate to get rid of me too.
Oh,
Like, just graduate and we'll deal with the, logistics later.
But here's one of the things I'm sure you understand now being on this earth for the period of time you've been on this earth. At the end of the day, I'm so grateful, and I say this all the time, that EQ trumps IQ all day long in the real world.
That's
I'm
right.
just lucky that happened that way.
Yes.
Very, very fortunate. So you did go to college?
Just for a couple years.
Okay.
And then I got pregnant with my first son.
Okay.
And I couldn't bear to leave him. I tried to go back to work and do all that. And it was just really difficult. And I knew in my heart that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Now, did you know that as a little girl as well? Like, was that something that was just a pull for you?
Yeah, being the last of 5 children.
Okay.
My sisters are 10 years older than me. So when I was like 7, they were graduating from high school.
Yeah.
So it was almost like 2 separate families, and my mom had to go back to work when she had me.
Oh.
And I desperately, because I didn't like school, I desperately wanted my mom to stay home.
Right.
And it's not for everybody. Everybody has their own calling.
Right.
So there's no judgment here if you work full time. Mm-hmm. It's just something that I wanted to do. And so when I had my kids, I was like, this is what I want to do. And it was the only goal I ever had in my whole life.
But up until this point, but it became your why. Right?
Yes.
And there was a deep-rooted reason for that. So you were going to make that happen no matter what.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, I grew up the same way. My brother was 10 years older than me. So it's like my sister was 5. So it's like being an only child, really.
Yeah.
And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I get that. I understand that. And I still got in all kinds of trouble. So it didn't even matter what kind of foundation they laid for me. Trust me, it didn't even matter. But I can get that. I understand that. So being a mom, being a stay-at-home mom, and talk about a tough job. Listen, it's tough. I mean, it is not an easy road. Now, were any of your kids homeschooled?
Yes. Wow. All of them at some point. They all were. My oldest son had some learning disabilities, so his was out of necessity. Mm-hmm. Really, I had to homeschool him because he had behavioral problems. And it's just because he's just so smart. Mm-hmm. They can't sit in a classroom.
Right, they're bored out of their mind.
And then he causes trouble, So that was really out of necessity that I brought him home.
How was that for you? Was it hard for you to adopt the stay-at-home schooling, or did it come pretty natural?
Well, for him, obviously for him it was more difficult, but we had to find things that he enjoyed. So we just basically did unit studies. We weren't traditional. Mm-hmm. If he liked a certain singer, we would look up where they lived, who was president at the time.
Wow.
We would just create these unit studies around what interested him, because if it didn't interest him, just like all of us, right? If something doesn't interest us, we don't want to learn it. So I had to get creative with him.
That's awesome. See, that would have been perfect for me. I would have got my diploma, right?
Yeah.
If that's how I was schooled, because I was the exact same way. I'm bored. The only thing, my only savior was sports, because that was my outlet. I was that physical guy. I wanted to be out playing sports, doing things that were physical. That was my comfort zone. But when you put me in that classroom, I just wanted to jump out the window head first. I mean, it was craziness. Crazy. And I'm still like that when I go in my office.
Yeah.
I want to do my emails and get out and be on the road. And I learned, not even that long ago, that motion therapy is very important for me. Whether I'm in my truck, whether I'm in the gym, that's where I feel, that's my zen.
Yeah.
That's my zen.
That's your creative space.
Yeah.
That's where you think.
Yeah, the creative craziness space.
Yes,
And
exactly.
whatever title you want to put on it. So, so you went up homeschooling all your kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
At one time or another, they all actually finished out doing online school.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you think that helped create a stronger bond with your kids and you?
Absolutely.
I mean, I would have to almost imagine how it couldn't.
Yeah.
But I was just curious.
Yeah. My 3 kids are my best friends.
Wow.
They really are. We're all very, very close. And
Wow.
I have great relationships with all of them. So.
That's all. And what are the ages right now?
My oldest is 26.
Okay.
And he's a Marine, so he's out serving our country, which is actually where he needs to be. And we're all a little bit safer that he's the type of person you want on the front line. I'll just say that. And my daughter's an entrepreneur. She's 23 and married, and no children yet. And then my youngest is 19.
Okay. All right. So the oldest with the learning, the genius really, he's not having issues taking orders and staying in that lane that they need you to stay in?
No, he thrives in that because he knows he needs discipline.
Okay.
He needs order because he's out of order a lot.
Right.
So, but that order has really been the balance for him.
That's actually been his savior.
Yes.
And I have to imagine that for me, when I look back, it was really more of, I didn't see the reasoning. Like besides the basics of learning, once you get past, for me, biology and history and all that, I didn't have any reason. There was no end.
Yes.
So when it came to business and being an entrepreneur, which I've been for the last 20-something years, there was a reason. And then there was an end result. There was a goal, and I need that carrot, and it has to make sense to me in order to do that. So it sounds a lot like your oldest son.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty accurate.
Yeah, he knew from the time he was 16 that he wanted to be a Marine.
Wow.
And there was nothing going to stop him. It took him, longer than it would take, other people, but he was diligent, and I'm really proud of him because he didn't give up on his dream.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That says a lot. That says a lot about his character too, which I love. And I love the fact that he was able to find his what he really wanted that early, because that's not easy. That's not easy to find.
No.
So you actually lived all over the country then,
We have.
right? In your lifetime. And how long you been in Southern California?
1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're loving it.
Oh, this is.
Especially in December. Yesterday it was 74 degrees.
Was that unbelievable? You're
Yes.
pinching yourself because you're like, this is unbelievable, right? And every time I meet somebody that says they're born and raised in Southern California, I say, you know what we call that, right? They're like, no. I said, spoiled. Because this is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, look, South Carolina is beautiful, but the humidity is wild.
Yes.
It's just crazy, right?
Yes.
The East Coast, but this is absolute paradise. When you came out here, how was it for you when you first came out?
So he's going to get right to it, right?
Yep.
It was a real stretch for me.
Okay. Why?
The politics, just the way people do things here, it's so different than the East Coast.
Yes.
Because people in California, because you live in paradise, where else are you going to go?
Right.
Hawaii? I mean,
Right.
where does it get any better than this?
Exactly.
So they don't tend to travel, and see what the culture is on the East Coast. The East Coast is very fast-paced. It's very competitive. My daughter was just in New York last week, and they were saying a friend of theirs is a tutor, and they said the schools are so competitive in New York that people have to move out when they have kids to get their kids into school, because unless you're a genius level, you can't get into schools there.
Wow.
And these are like little kids, like sixth graders, not we're not talking Harvard, but that's their aspiration. So it's just a different culture out here, but this is where I had to move. This is where God had me to fulfill my destiny. I had to come to California to get it.
Why do you think that is?
The entrepreneurship.
Okay.
the connections that are here, I never would have had anywhere else living on the East Coast. And it's not that, Ohio was the fantastic place to raise my kids.
Yeah, but you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere.
When you were talking about business contacts, Yeah,
so everything happens here, and it's just innovative, and it's just a spirit over California. People don't come here to retire.
Right.
Where we were at in North Carolina, it's a retirement town. People go there to slow down and retire.
Lower
I'm
Florida.
too young, to slow down and retire. So it was kind of like, come out here, and our daughter had got married to a guy from San Diego, so, they've been working us for 4 years. Come out here, come out here, come out here. And finally, it just, happened. My husband and I were very involved in a church in North Carolina, and it just kind of like, we had went on a mission trip to Brazil for 15 days, and we were coming back in, landing into Wilmington, North Carolina, and everyone said, "Oh, it's so good to be home." And I asked my husband, I said, "This isn't home."
Wow.
And he said, "I don't feel like it's home either." We knew we were temporarily there, but that was the release, like, it's time to go.
I love that. I came out in 2005 on vacation, fell in love with it, and by end of 2007, sold my house, sold my business, went through a divorce, and we're still really close. So this is, for anybody who wants to know, it's the proudest thing I've ever done. And came out in 2008, knew nobody, but I fell in love with it. And you described it in a great way that I can absolutely say that's how I feel. And I couldn't word it the way you worded it, is when you come out here, besides the weather, it's the environment that people, you just see so much opportunity.
Yes.
And I think it's even maximized coming from the East Coast because we're in that momentum, that grind. And when you're built and raised in that, it's just like, it's on. I didn't know what business I was going to do when I came out, but I made a deal with myself and I said, whatever it is, it's going to be passion related first and then profit related second. Because it was always profit related first and passion way, way far behind. And long story short, I bought a struggling sports nutrition store in November of 2008. Now, I never had a retail business in my life, knew nobody out here, just relocated me and my dog, right? That was it. Everyone in my inner circle was going to put me in a straitjacket. Are you out of your mind? Yeah. We're in a recession, a depression. It's a retail business and you knew nobody, and this place is already struggling. Within the first, now it's a lot of work, right? Blood, sweat, and tears, but within the first year and a half, we tripled the numbers, grew it, and then by 2012, it made sense to flip it. But the point is, I had that feeling in Southern California, like, man, this is an unbelievable opportunity. I'm looking around going, how come nobody else sees this?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And when you're born and raised here, you might not have that same edge. Kind of like I had a show yesterday with amazing immigrant story. And when the immigrants come over, they have that combination that I consider unstoppable: the hunger and the gratitude.
Yeah.
And when you have both of those, it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
So the way you worded that and put that, it was right on for me. I never thought of it that way either. It was an opportunity in an area that I just fell in love with. I love the warm weather and the sunshine. So I love that. That's awesome. So before we move on, let me see who jumped on and see who we can talk to and give a little shout out to. Marion, who do we have that jumped on? I see some people.
Kelby Dixon says, I have a Shih Tzu too. I need to take some notes from him.
Hey, wait till you hear about this book. I can't wait till we jump into this book and really get into the meat and potatoes of this book. So, Kelby, thank you so much for jumping on and hanging there. And guys, don't be afraid, share this episode. It's all about personal development. We're going to tie in how she saw it through her dog's eyes, and I think I'm saying that right. But we're gonna give her the platform in a few seconds. Anybody else, Marion?
Greg Walker.
All right, great.
Love your live post, bro.
Thank you, big man. Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate the love, and make sure you share this episode. Let's see some thumbs up. Let's see some hearts. Anybody else, Marion?
And then we got shout outs from Will Becker.
Okay, all right, Will. He's got an awesome Facebook group. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
And Elizabeth Perez Library.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
And
Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate it, pal. So let's, we're gonna jump back on there, Marion, but let's talk about the book now.
Okay.
I'm chomping at the bit. I'm chomping at the bit for this. So, Moments with Miley, Tara and Miley share with you life lessons to inspire and enrich your life. So, take it away, girl.
That's right.
Love it.
Well, the book, and there's tons of lessons within even writing the book. I'd had this, my Shih Tzu, Miley, she's 7 years old.
Now, hold on one second, because I'm going to edify this. You ready?
Okay.
Now, I just read the cover of this book. Let me read who gave some testimonials on this book. Now we're going to edify, right? And she's blushing and she's embarrassed, but this is awesome. So the first one is James Melanchek. If you're not familiar with James, he's an amazing speaker, worldwide speaker, and he also had a reality show.
He was on ABC Secret Millionaire.
That's it.
Yeah.
He was on ABC Secret Millionaire. That's what it was. Brian Tracy. If you have anything to do, if you even dipped your toe in the personal development world and you don't know Brian Tracy, get out from under that rock. I mean, a man's a legend in personal development, and he's in Southern California. I think he's at Del Mar, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Kevin Harrington from the Shark Tank. These are people that wrote testimonials for this book. Joe Theismann. I mean, that is. Look at knuckle that up. That is awesome. Forbes Riley. Just again. What can you say about her? I mean, she's everywhere, and she's just immersed herself in the TV world, but also the personal development world and the fitness world, right?
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay. And Craig Duswalt, talk about him real quick.
Yeah, Craig is founder of Rockstar. Is that what it is? Rockstar? Right.
Rockstar Marketing. Yes.
And Craig was the agent for Guns N' Roses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man,
so he was a big publicist, yeah.
Man, I'd love to have him on. I'd love to hear those stories.
Yeah, I just saw him a couple weeks ago. Amazing speaker, funny, energetic, yeah, awesome.
Wow.
He is a rock star.
Wow, because I'd love to hear those stories. We had on a few weeks ago the lead guitarist back in the middle 70s of the Steve Miller Band.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about stories.
Yeah, oh, I bet.
Wildness. So I just wanted to edify this. These are some of the people that actually wrote a testimonial for you. So that is absolutely amazing. And this is your first book.
My very
And when did it land?
Actually just came out last week.
Amazon?
So it's it's going to be on Amazon.
Okay.
But right now you go to momentswithmiley.com.
Okay.
And you can order it there.
Okay.
And there may still be a chance to get it before Christmas if you order today.
All right.
And but it's going to be heading up on Amazon here in the next.
And then you what's going to happen is she's going to be able to post all of her information when we jump off, as you know. So if you don't have a pen or a pencil, don't worry about it. So let's talk about this. What's this? How did it come to? How did this all happen?
So, like I said, Miley's 7 years old, and I started noticing, as I started getting involved in personal development, that a lot of the things that I was learning, for instance, how to win friends and influence people, Miley, when we moved to North Carolina, we didn't know anybody, and everybody we knew in our neighborhood that we'd met was because of Miley. Because she'd run right up to them and be so excited to see them and greet them with such enthusiasm and love and warmth. And so I'm like, wow, Miley's actually doing this. And then compassion. One of the things in there is how to show compassion to people, because let's face it, a lot of people are hurting and are under a lot of stress. And so it's really important that we show compassion to people. And when anybody in our house gets hurt or is crying or something happens, Miley's the first on the scene to say, how can I help? What can I do? What do you need? And so after seeing her, exhibit all these moments, I thought, and I've been thinking about it for about 4 years actually. And I was at a conference last year, actually James Melanchek's a big money speaker, and he said, everyone in this room has something inside of them that the world needs. You've got to get it out. What is it for you? And I leaned over to my husband and I said, it's my book. It's Moments with Miley. Like, I have to get this out.
That was your aha moment.
That was my aha moment.
Right.
So I was reading Jack Canfield's book, The Power of Focus, and again, I noticed how Miley exhibited that, and I'll tell you that story in a second. And I thought, you know what, if I put together the power of focus and put together a plan, I could get this book done. And so my goal was to get it done in 3 months.
All right.
So I did it.
All right.
And it, with editing and
Sure.
getting it printed and all that, took 12 months really fully to get it finished. But now I have a product. So that's really the whole story of how the whole thing came about.
So give us an overview of the book itself.
Yeah, so this one is just the first 12 moments. I've actually have 12 more. So
Okay.
this is volume 1. And one of the very first one is her people skills and how she exhibits people skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about being more interested in what somebody's interested in. Find out what they're interested in and talk to them about that, not what you're interested in.
They give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody always wants to talk about themselves. We all are our favorite subject. So, but when you do that, you're not impacting anybody else. And Dale Carnegie tells a story. He went to a dinner party and he talked to this gentleman, and it was about botany. And the guy, and he didn't say, all he kept saying, really interesting. He kept asking him questions. And later, after Dale had left, the guest came up to the host of the party and said, he was the most interesting person I ever met. And he said, I didn't say one thing about myself.
Because they were so interested in themselves.
Yeah.
But and you're right, they do that constantly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So as dog owners, some of the typical, the average ones are how the unconditional love.
Yeah.
Which that's a given. I don't talk about that one in there because that's why we all get dogs, really,
Right.
because it's that unconditional love, it's that companionship that they give us,
Right.
no matter what we look like.
Yeah.
No
What
matter
your
what kind
bank
of day.
account says.
That's right.
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 You're right. And one of the things that I always tell people that I love about dogs and I love about my dogs, and they're no different, is every day's Christmas. See,
Yeah.
when I wake up at the same time and he knows he's going to eat, he's spinning around, tail's going, right? When I come home,
Yes.
even if I just go to the mailbox and come back,
Yes.
he's spinning around, he's jumping, every day's Christmas like a little kid. And what a way to live your life. And if you know this better than anybody, we learn this in personal development early on, that we need to learn how to get that again, right?
Yes.
Because when we become as we become adults, stop daydreaming. Stop, pay attention, grow up,
Yes.
right? And I still hear that,
Yeah.
right? And that's why I have this. It says if you're not grown up by 30, you don't have to.
That's right.
So I love that about dogs, especially because they just have that innate ability to just live in the moment, and that's the hardest thing for us.
Yeah, well, two of the moments that you kind of briefly touched on right there is, one is enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you enjoy the moment? And one of the moments that I share in there with Miley is on her walks, there's a certain corner where when we get to that corner, she can see the house down the street. She can see, and she knows the walk's about to end. So she sits down. She does it every time. She sits down and she just kind of looks around in all directions, make sure she hasn't missed anything. There's nothing interesting going on that she's going to miss. And then she just puts her nose up and she smells all the smells. She feels the wind going through her little ears. And you can just tell it's like an introspective, it's breathing it all in and really enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Because she knows it's going to end. And that's the thing, if we don't enjoy the moment before we know it's gone.
I love that. And that is one of the hardest things, especially when you have that entrepreneurial DNA, that type A personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you're always reaching,
Yeah.
right? But man, when you can step back, it's so true.
Right.
I love that. I love that story too.
That's
awesome.
kind of where gratitude comes in as well, is being grateful no matter what situation you're in.
Yes.
Because when you're grateful, you're focusing on what you do have instead of what you don't have.
Right.
And so that's a big one. And then the other one you touched on is remaining playful. That's one of the moments in there too, because Miley just loves to play.
Yes.
But she knows how to rest too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also tell a story in there when my grandson, who's 4, comes over. He likes to get in on her toys. Now, Miley loves her stuffed toys. And Mama likes to shop for them. So she's got 3 baskets through the house. And so he likes to get them all out and spread them all over the place. And so she just goes crazy, but she loves it.
Right.
And then, she'll play. But then she knows when it's time to retreat to a quiet place, rest, re-energize, and then come back out and enjoy. And so that's a big lesson for us, to know when to rest, to know when to remain playful.
I love
and,
that.
To not grow old.
I love that, and really it just ties into, we get so removed from nature, and nature's so true,
Yes.
and so real and so honest that we're so, as humans, we're so removed from that. But really, ultimately, getting back to that connection. Would that be pretty accurate?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some of the other things? Just touch on about the book.
Well, let's see.
Well, let me ask you this. What has it done for you since this book is now completed?
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in.
Well, it's funny when you write a book, and going back to where I didn't like school, right? However, I did homeschool and went through language art, high school language arts, 4 times.
Right.
Once for myself and 3 for my kids.
Right.
So I figured, come on, I got enough skills.
You
I should
really
go write
have a
book.
lot of paperwork that should be on the wall, hanging in your office.
That's right.
You burned it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had to overcome the fear of, I can't write a book. What do I know about writing a book? I've never written a book. And then I started thinking about, well, what do I have? Well, I can do this. So I did. But I think the biggest thing is it's almost like there was a whole shift once the book got finished. Everything shifted for me. Because now I feel like, because I overcome a fear, that I have confidence now.
Love this. So we're going to break this down and really highlight this, because this is so perfect, because it is such the majority. You said that you had this conditioning, this tape that played in your head saying, I'm not worthy, right, of writing this book. Why would anybody want to read a book that I wrote, right? Which fear barriers, leadership, anything in personal development that I share maps to one thing. It maps to your self-image. Because I do believe that you can build it up, you can tear it down, but you cannot outperform it. So let me ask you this. That conditioning, that tape, how did you make that first step to face that bully? And I call the fear barriers the ultimate bully in life. And the only way I believe that you can make it sound pretty, you can make it sound nice, you can make it sound politically correct, but the only way to get your lunch money back is to step up, right, from that bully, or else they're going to keep taking your lunch money. So how did you take that first step?
Well, I knew that once my homeschooling, my children, I didn't need to be a full-time mom any longer. I mean, I'll always be a mom, that's a lifelong commitment. But my kids didn't need me on a daily basis. So then I had to say, what do I want to do? What is my calling? What is my destiny now? I've met my ultimate goal, and so now what do I want to do? And I knew that I wanted to do great things, that I had a lot in me, but I didn't really know how to get it out. And so I knew that my current skill set didn't match up with where I wanted to go. Okay. So I had to learn new skills.
Okay.
So basically what I have done is, if it scares the shit out of me, sorry.
Never say sorry, that's it.
But if it does, I do it.
See, that you're stepping up, right? And you're getting your lunch money back. But I want to take them back one step, only because of what you shared with me before we went on, because this is so perfect and so real. You were at a point in your life, and it wasn't even that long ago, that when somebody asked you, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite food?
Right.
What was your answer?
I didn't know.
You didn't know, right?
No.
You didn't know what, and I'm sure there's other things, right? So understand that this is not even that long ago that you had to actually figure out, who are you? Right? You said 45 years, right?
Right.
45 years because of trying to be somebody else for all those years, and then right into the mother and husband role, wife role, right? To where your identity is completely on the back burner, and then all of a sudden it just disappears. And that's the majority of a lot of women in your position, because your DNA is a caregiver, right? That's your and for you, because you've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So now talk about life saying, okay, all right, are you sure? Because that's your first obstacle, finding who you are. how did you do that? How did you get introduced to personal development?
Well, you know, it's easy when you have kids to hide behind
Yes.
them, like you're saying.
Yes.
So it's easy to not even think about it.
Yes.
I didn't have to think about it because nobody cared. Because
Right.
I was Drew's mom, Amanda's mom, Brady's mom, Chris's husband or wife.
Yes.
So I didn't have to have an identity. That was my identity.
Yep.
And nobody questioned it. I
Yep.
wasn't forced. But when all that gets stripped away and you're just standing there, now you have to deal with it. Now it becomes real. And
Love that.
so my husband and I are both ordained pastors, so we're very connected in church and the Bible, and so I really feel like our identity comes from who God says we are, our Creator. You're not going to find your value and your worth apart from who created you.
Right.
So that was a big piece, a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer for myself, and also another key thing for myself is surrounding myself with people who love me
Okay.
and who are where I want to go.
Okay.
And can speak, because a lot of times you don't even know what your strengths and abilities are. You need somebody on the outside because, you know, it's kind of like as women, we look in the mirror and we say, oh, do you see that wrinkle and this and that gray hair and all stuff? And everyone says, no, I don't see that. Because we're the hardest on ourselves.
Yes.
So I had to like get myself out of the way and surround myself with people who could speak into my life that I trusted, who could say, Tara, you're really good, you're really witty. You're really good at writing. I really like this. So then it all started to become a picture as I started kind of placing it all out in front of me.
Okay.
To say, okay, well, yeah, and I had believed this lie. I don't want to be out front. I had been a supporting role.
Okay. Yeah. You were the co-pilot.
Yeah.
And you were fine with that because
I was
that
fine
was your
with
comfort
that.
zone,
It was
right? You didn't have to step out.
Yeah.
But then obviously when everyone moves out and it's you and your husband and the walls are echoing, right? And you're
Yes.
trying to figure out what just happened, right?
Right.
And probably a little different for him because he works and wasn't as in it. You know, that wasn't his identity like it was yours.
Yeah.
So the personal development, what was the first mentor or person in that niche, in that realm that spoke to you?
I think Jim Rohn.
Okay.
You familiar with him?
Very much.
He has a book called Leading an Inspired Life.
Okay.
And I thought, you know, I've inspired my kids, but how can I inspire on a greater scale?
Mm-hmm.
And not to minimize that, because my kids are out there replicating
Of course.
everything that I poured into them.
Right.
But I needed to pour into myself and figure out who I am so that I could. So I've invested in a lot of coaches. I've invested in myself because I had to come to a point where I said, I'm worthy of that.
Yes, the self-image.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
worthy of that.
Yes.
And get over those things. So I just figured if I'm not where I want to be, you know, in all the decisions that I'd made around me, I knew I was made for something bigger and greater. I just didn't really know how to get there. So yes, the personal development books, Dale Carnegie's book,
Napoleon Hill.
Yes,
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy,
Yeah.
Dale Carnegie, and all these. I just started reading. I just became a student of personal development.
Yeah.
And started seeing, wow.
It becomes an addiction.
Yeah,
Doesn't it?
it really does.
It does. And then it becomes a point, I remember Bob Proctor telling me this, then it's going to become a point where you feel obligated. You feel part of who you are to now share it.
Yeah.
You know, whether you want to do it on a large scale or just, and he's so right. He's so right, yeah.
Yeah, and I also had determined that I want to be the biggest inspiration in my kid's life. I don't want them to look at other people and say, oh, that person inspired me, and me not be in that group.
So
But
that,
my
again,
mom inspired me.
Again, you're pulling from that why, which is your family, your kids, and that's really been your why even before you had kids, because you knew that you want to be that stay-at-home mom.
Right.
So, and I always say, if you know, when your why becomes big enough, it's going to pull you through those fear barriers. Then when your why becomes bigger than you become unstoppable.
That's right.
I love that. I love
That's a
that.
good one.
And you've had your why. You know, your why has been
Yeah.
bigger than you from the beginning, which is really, really cool. And not everyone can identify that. You want to kind of speak on that, on your thoughts on your why?
Yeah, my why had to get deeper. And you know, it's been in many areas of my life, but it's kind of like, well, why do you want to write the book? Well, because it's inside of me. Okay, what do you want to do with the book when you get it? Well, I want to speak. Well, why do you want to speak? Because I'm going to impact, because instead of us sitting here, we're talking to each other, but because now we're live, now we can impact hundreds of people. And so, well, what's that going to do if you impact hundreds of other women? because then their life is going to be better. And like you had touched on, women, we're caregivers.
Yes.
You know, at heart, we want to make sure everybody's okay. And so we do put ourselves on the back burner. So I want them to be able to see that it's not selfish to put yourself first. Because like you said, if you, the whole air mask that you said earlier, if you don't help yourself, you can't help anybody else. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anybody else. Perfect. So I want this to just move forward and just keep going and snowballing, that you are worthy. The women and men, I'm not a feminist by any means, but you know, but because we're typically the ones who do stay home with the children.
And that is your story, right? So that's who you mainly do connect with and speak to, because you are the majority, except you're the minority in the fact that you're learning how to step up and get your lunch money back from that bully.
Right.
And that's the ultimate thing. And you know, one of the things you touched on, and I want to go a little deeper on this too, is first of all, the message is awesome because it's so needed out there. Secondly, people, especially women, like we talked about, feel guilty because they want to put themselves first. But what they're forgetting, like you said, is the better you make yourself, the better everyone else around you can be. So it has to start with you. If it doesn't, you're giving from that empty glass. You're giving, you know, half full.
That's right.
And you talked about this before, that one of your biggest focuses when you speak on platform is to give it everything you've got. You want to give them everything you've got. And the only way to do that is actually know who you are, to be able to give from you. And this just reminds me of I love sharing this story. I saw Oprah Winfrey in her prime when she was getting interviewed. And you know, at that level, you know, they already know what the questions are. Their publicist okayed them and everything. Well, this was a question that she wasn't, I know she didn't okay, and she wasn't ready for. So he said to her, let me ask you, if you ever feel guilty for all the success you've had? And I saw she sat back for a second. You could see that wasn't supposed to be the next question. That wasn't number 6, right? That was inserted in there. But she's a beast. She looked right at him and goes, absolutely not. She goes, number 1, I earned it. But number 2, if I didn't create the level of success that I have, I wouldn't be able to build a college in Africa. I wouldn't be able to give back to the level that I give back on a daily basis. And she says, as a matter of fact, we're just getting ready to blow this up. And you know, that's the ultimate. That's why we're here. You're talking about our Creator and things that you believe in. At the end of the day, if you don't give it all you got, you're giving up, right?
That's right.
And I believe when you settle, you gave up.
That's right.
When you settle, you gave up.
Yeah.
You quit when you settle for whatever it is in your life.
That's right.
One other thing, and I want your feedback on this.
Okay.
It could be because of where you're at right now, where you've come from, and where you're at. This is perfect. At a podcast or interviews or whatever it is, people are, oh, you're the big fear barrier guy. You know, you're the big monster motivator. What are you afraid of? And I say, there's not even a second place. I'm terrified, completely terrified of regret. Mm-hmm. So if it's over today or 50 years from now, I don't want to step up to that door, look back and go, would've, should've, could've. Give me your thoughts.
Wow, that's amazing. That's huge. I've thought about that same thought about. I don't want to look back at my life and say, just like with the book, that's what motivated me. If I didn't take action, then it just would have remained this cute idea in my mind, and I would have talked about it. Right. And no longer. No longer. I have the ability to create, and that we all are made for greatness. Mm-hmm. Every one of us has greatness in us, and we can't compare ourselves to anybody else because we're all made unique. We're all made with a purpose, and so you just have to find what that is and give it to the world. And you know, I heard a guy talk about, actually my cousin said, you know, the graveyard is full of unwritten songs, unwritten books, unwritten movies, just so much stuff, and it's a shame. Yeah. They all had dreams. They all were created for that purpose, but for some reason or another, maybe it was fear, maybe it was doubt, whatever the case may be, it died with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm the same way. Whatever's in me has to get out. I don't want to die with it still inside me.
I love that. I love that. And we have such limited time, right? And we don't know
Yes.
what that time is, right? It could be
Absolutely.
today, it could be 50 years from now. So I love that. Before we do move on, Marion, anybody else jump on with comments or questions?
Not with comments and questions,
Yep.
but I'd like to do a couple shout-outs.
Sure.
One, Tom was bodyguard.
Tom, what's up, big man? Thank you, pal.
And also, Christian Kassalas.
Okay.
Okay, I hope I didn't hurt that. Kassawa.
That's okay. They know their name. So thank you so much for taking the time and jumping on. Please share this episode, share this information, because this story, Tara's story, is the majority. It's not the minority. And there's so many women out there that were in your position that are terrified to move forward and not understand how to get out. And I want to highlight something. You had an aha moment because you took that action. In other words, you didn't have to go to that event.
Right.
You could have stayed home. You could have made up a story and said, you know what, I'm not going to go there. So it all started from, I would say, action becomes magical.
Yeah.
The people and the circumstances come into your life. Then that aha moment came, right? Because you were there, willing to be open, accepted. Then you took the steps to make this happen, right? And you have so many cool things coming up. I'm very, very excited from where you were to where you are now. That's just a badass story. Love it. Marion, anybody else?
Not anybody else.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Now, Tara, is there anything that I didn't talk about or mention that you want to share?
Yeah, well, what you just said there, you have to put yourself in the position to receive. And this is going to be in volume 2, but Miley loves bacon. Okay? And no matter where she's at in the house, when she smells bacon, she comes and sits right under our feet in hopes that if any is dropped, she can pick it up. And like you said, I had to put myself in the position to receive, and it goes back to putting yourself in an environment with leaders, with thought leaders, with people who are doing something, people who are taking action, people like yourself, watching your show. It's just going to feed your spirit and motivate you. I mean, James always says he doesn't motivate anybody, but we can inspire people because motivation comes from within. So it's just putting yourself in these situations and feeding your mind, and the ideas will come. It's not really rocket science.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's just put yourself in the right environment, surround yourself with the right people, and if there's toxic people, you get rid of them. And if either people are contaminating your environment or they're contributing to your environment, and you have to determine. And if something in your life's contaminating it, you're going to have to get rid of it and move away from it.
I love that. I love that. And one of the things that I want to expand on that and add to is people are now saying, well, that's great, Tara, look, you're doing it, but that's you, right? And they look at themselves and say that old tape saying they can't do it. But here's one of the things that has to be underlined, highlighted, and neon signs around it. At the end of the day, life makes the rules. And life says, we will help who wants to help themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're not willing to put the work in, and when you said, the toxic people, because there's people watching this and they're going to reply and they're saying to themselves, well, that's great, but I can't get away from this person, that person, this is my family, this is it. Here's what happens, right? And I learned this early on, that the universe handles it all for you. As you raise your vibration, they're either going to follow you or they're going to fall away. But either way, it's not your job.
That's right.
So again, talking about environment, how important that is, that's your answer when you tell us that, well, how do I get out of it? You just work on yourself. You raise your vibration, because they're either going to match it or they're going to fall away.
Yeah.
You're not the bad guy. The universe. Yeah. Blame the universe.
That's right. Well, one of the things you learn in personal development, the very first thing is take 100% responsibility for yourself.
Yes.
And it's we all can look back to a point in our life, well, maybe I didn't have a dad, and maybe my mom, this happened or that happened. We all have our story, right, as to where we're at today. But if we want to remain a victim, guess what happens? Like you're saying, the universe, you get victimized.
Yes.
Because you're a victim.
You're
And that's what victims do. They get
Love it.
victimized. So
Yes.
you have to rewrite your story.
Love it.
And it's simple. Just rewrite your story and say, I'm victorious. I can do this. I don't have a college education. I never finished college. I've never written a book. I don't have a degree in writing. I have a little ADD, so my husband really, if he doesn't manage my schedule, I don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter though.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
It
Those
doesn't.
are just excuses. I can make this happen, and I'm in the middle of my journey. So if people are looking at me like, oh, she arrived. I'm not arrived. I'm still working on it. I still get nervous before I go onto a stage or, my knees start knocking and things like
and
that.
I love that you talked about that because I want to share this. That's perfect that you said, people look at, okay, she arrived. No. I don't know if you ever heard the YouTube interview with Matthew McConaughey. And he said, and they asked him, who's your hero? He said, oh, my hero's me 10 years from now.
Mm,
and he says, well, wait a minute, who's going to be your hero from? He says, well, the person I'm going to be 10 years from there. He says, my hero is always 10 years ahead of who I am.
Wow.
And that is exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
It's understanding it is that journey, not the destination, and it's that person you need to become in order to get through that struggle. So I love that. But yeah, that just reminded me of that. I just heard it again when I was at the gym, and it just reminded me, my hero is me 10 years from now. How great of a mindset and a paradigm is that?
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
That's pretty unstoppable. Yeah, so Google Matthew McConaughey, you guys are going to be able to find that. So, Tara, we end the show the same way all the time.
Okay.
And I'm a big believer that that life makes the rules. Life owns the game, right? I don't make the rules, you don't make the rules. We just either follow the rules or learn how to play the rules the best of our ability, or we get left behind. And life always gives us choices, right? And life's saying right now, Tara, if you could live your life, purr like a kitten or roar like a lion, what would you do?
Oh, roar like a lion.
Oh, girl,
Oh.
I knew the answer to that. and life has another question for you. It says, Tara, if you could be in that unstoppable state the majority of your day, how great would that be? Because I'm a firm believer that we can only be in one state of mind at a time. So if you're in victim state, there's no room for gratitude. But if you're in gratitude, right, there's no room for that victim state at that moment. So if you could be in that unstoppable state the majority of your day, how good would that be?
That'd be
That'd
amazing.
be awesome.
Absolutely.
So we're going to end this show the way we always do. It's called the Monster Motivator Roar. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
on 3, it's going to go like this. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah! Atta girl.